evening. Our top story this week. In California, the system sucks are complaining about the crisis-level shortage of foster homes in Los Angeles County, which is causing them to keep their stolen children in chaotic holding rooms, causing the state to demand that they find more foster homes, or else they will face some hefty fines. So of course they start the desperate push to recruit more foster care providers. In Oklahoma, a guardian ad litem who was appointed to look out for the best interest of baby Veronica files a motion to suspend visits between the girl and the wannabe adoptive parents. South Carolina sends 2 deputies in the state cop to Oklahoma to assist if needed. And the real father files an appeal to the Oklahoma Supreme Court, although due to a gag order, nobody knows the real reason why or the actual details of the outcome of a hearing that happened this past week. The Obama administration is trying to end the practice of deporting undocumented immigrants who have minor children, and is warning border agents not to enforce a law that separates parents from their kids by throwing the kids into foster care while the parents go through deportation proceedings. In Texas, a judge approves a class action lawsuit against the child protective industry claiming shoddy care of foster children, while the Texas child protective industry inspects nearly 24 foster homes for safety in response to the death of a toddler who was killed in foster care after being snatched because the parents smoked pot. In Florida, former foster kids are speaking out about how they were treated while in care. In Missouri, lawmakers are criticizing the efforts of social service agents to provide voter registration services when they have stacks and stacks of other paperwork piling up. West Virginia isn't doing a very good job of protecting children from abuse or neglect. And in Nebraska, 3 gay couples in the American Civil Liberties Union are suing the child protective industry over a state rule that prevents gays from becoming foster parents. In Japan, it is found that only 15% of stolen newborns are placed into foster homes, with the rest being sent to welfare warehousing facilities. In New Zealand, a couple stands accused of beating their foster children with a brush, a wooden spoon, and a rolling pin on several occasions over the last 10 years. In Nigeria, a woman is in police custody for running an illegal orphanage. In India, a 17-year-old girl goes to the Child Welfare Committee to complain that the orphanage she lived in was forcing her to marry a man from Saudi Arabia. And South Africa is complaining that they don't have enough social workers. In Australia, unpaid and very inexperienced university interns are doing the work of CPS agents because of acute staff shortages and heavy workloads. The New South Wales Minister for Community Services is under pressure to resign for lying to Parliament about the number of CPS agents in the state after it is revealed that more than 20,000 reports of child abuse were closed because there weren't enough caseworkers to check up on them. Australian children want more say in their family court cases, and Australian foster kids are still getting thrown out onto their butts the minute they turn 18. In Canada, 2 sisters from Ontario have to pay their uncle $125,000 after falsely accusing him of sexual abuse, and a 6-year-old from Saskatchewan who was last seen alive playing outside a rec center while his foster mother played bingo was laid to rest on Friday. In England, it is estimated that Bradford Council's new scheme to help troubled families instead of snatching their kids is saving the council £12 million over the next 3 years without compromising the safety of children, while at the same time the UK is suffering from a 13% increase over the last 2 years of children who were placed on the at-risk register before they're even born. In entertainment news this week, it is reported that Michael Jackson had to rig the television sets in his house so that his kids wouldn't be able to see the media gossip surrounding his sex abuse allegations. A vacationing family was turned away from Universal Studios in Florida because the father was wearing a t-shirt that said police on it. And in sports, NBA star Allen Iverson's ex-wife wants $1.2 million worth of child support. A CPS agent from Vermont is in trouble after being accused of a sex crime by driving to Bangor, Maine to do a follow-up visit of a young girl who lives there and ends up doing an inappropriate and unnecessary physical examination in the process, which they're calling an isolated case which warrants no policy change. And a visitation supervisor in Maine is accused of aiding a real mother who tried to snatch her stolen kids back before being captured in South Carolina. In Oklahoma, a church pastor is accused of exposing himself and masturbating in front of a boy who he took out of a group home. In Pennsylvania, a foster parent waives his second preliminary hearing on charges that he molested 7 kids in his care, ages 3 to 10. A former California foster parent and Girl Scout leader is facing more charges after being accused of lewd acts with 6 children. And the CEO of a California foster care agency is being accused of stealing from foster kids as she faces money laundering and embezzlement charges. In Texas, a pastor is facing felony charges after allegedly having a sexual relationship with one of his foster children. In Colorado, a doctor threatens to report a mom to Child Protective Services after successfully treating her son's leukemia with medical marijuana and cutting him off the doctor's expensive and ineffective chemo treatments. In Connecticut, a mother is fighting for transparency and public access to CPS records after her son was killed by a babysitter. And in Washington, a foster mother who is charged with killing a kid takes the stand in her own defense. In Florida, a real mother is turning to social media to try to find her daughter who she had given up for adoption after giving birth at age 16 while she was in foster care. In Maryland, a group of kids gets to go to a summer camp to spend a little time with their fathers who are in prison. In Texas, a baby who was abandoned by a mother at a Houston fire station will stay in foster care until CPS checks everything out, even though the real father has been trying to get custody. And the relatives of a California 8-year-old who died from child abuse is filing a wrongful death claim against the child protective industry for not doing enough to protect him. In New York, a 6-year-old foster kid falls out a second-story window and hurts his arm on his second day with new foster parents. And finally, tonight in Indiana, 2 foster kids are in trouble after running away, stealing a boat, and burglarizing homes to survive in what's being called Huckleberry Finn-style crimes. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.